Hey everyone, welcome back to The Field Between. My name is Ahmed.
And I'm Yasmin.
All right. What are we doing today?
Sorry that we're gone for a bit. We're glad to be back.
Oh, yeah. We were gone for a wedding.
Yes, my sister's wedding, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was an all hands on deck affair. They made all the food themselves. It was like a restaurant quality small thing at the house, and then a party with their friends after. It was really cute.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And now we're all married, me and my two sisters.
Not together.
No, we're married separately.
Right.
Yeah. How are you? I feel like this is the first time I'm kind of talking to you all day.
Is that true?
Kinda, like for an actual, we've both been like just getting through tasks and that kind of a day.
I'm in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And it's wearing my patience thin.
Is that a warning?
No, I take it however you want.
Aw. You physically look like you're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Do you want me to say something you won't like?
What is it?
I feel like you need to get your spine fused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry. This has been going on obviously you're always in some level of pain, but I think you've been having a pretty bad flare up for like going on a whole month now. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And
it's not like relenting, which is really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How was your day?
It was good. I wasn't feeling that great the last couple days, and I'm feeling better today, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little TMI, but I can share why. I had run out of my birth control, and I used to have like a spare pack from something,
mm-hmm.
and it like looked different because I don't remember. I bought it as like a stopgap measure at some point, like when I was in between prescriptions. I can't remember. So I packed that for the wedding, and then the day after the wedding, Sunday, Monday, I took that, and I just didn't feel terrible, but I did not feel great. I was having some digestive issues. And then Monday morning, I was about to take another one, and then I realized they were laxatives. So
yeah,
not only did I miss my period, or miss rather my birth control for 2 days, I also took 2 laxatives, which I don't normally. I've never consciously taken a laxative except for one time that I got this surgery, but that was years ago. So that was not so fun.
You never stopped to think, why is my birth control suddenly a different color?
I don't notice that kind of stuff because I thought it was my backup birth control, which now I can't find. So I guess I ran out of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the Dulcolax in your bag, and I was like, I don't know, maybe she's constipated from traveling and not being on. Okay.
No, I was the opposite of constipated.
Right.
But yeah, now I have my period, which is annoying because I normally take birth control continuously so that I don't get my period. But anyway, I'm getting back on track. Today's the first day my body feels kind of back with it. Got to go to yoga. I also had like a really rough work week last week, not just because of that deadline, because of other stuff going on at work. And so just kind of taking it gentle this week, trying to get all my ducks in order so I'm able to get back into writing next week.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other updates?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. You're feeling kind of down.
I'm in pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't make me feel good.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you have stuff for this episode?
No, I have thoughts on the ceasefire, quote unquote ceasefire, but that's about it.
Okay. We'll start with some clips, and then we'll get into ceasefire stuff. And then I have 2 articles that I think you'll appreciate.
Sounds good.
All right. This is some sex advice.
Okay. Starting off strong.
A person might have his, that particular position, not think anything of it. But that's...
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me start it.
Wait, can we give a little context? So this looks like a Muslim dude wearing a beard.
Yeah. Wearing a beard. Yeah. You'll get the context pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's not haram for a woman to be on the top position with her husband. It's not haram. But he's saying it's something that we should keep in mind, that it's something that encourages femininity. It causes the man to be in the position of the woman. And sadly, we've seen how this is perverse, how perverted this has become, because now men have actually gone to engage in practices where they're not just in the woman's position, but then they're actually being treated like a woman, where they will ask their wife to actually penetrate them.
Slippery slope.
What do you think?
I think that going from lady on top to strap on is more of a bridge than he's making it sound like.
I don't know.
I actually don't even think they're related.
Slippery slope.
It's like, you know,
If you give a mouse a cookie, then he'll want to peg you.
Yeah.
Do you know that children's book?
I don't.
Oh.
But also, I feel like, you know, being penetrated versus, even if you're laying down, being the one who's still penetrating, they're just kind of different feelings, and they require different things of you. So they don't seem related to me.
Yeah. I like that he's just like, well, it's not haram, but you know, it's kind of gay. I don't know.
This poor man's wife,
He's
like,
obsessing.
they probably only exclusively have
Missionary.
missionary, because he's like, this is the only halal position.
Well, I think he said, oh, no, this is in the first half of the clip that I didn't play, but he said you could hit it from the back.
Oh, interesting. I would think, if anything, that is getting closer to other areas.
Yeah.
You know, you're
I
hitting
don't
it from
know.
the back.
I think he just, well, I guess mission.
You know, the butthole it's right there.
That's true.
Who's to say you don't just slip it in?
I'm not sure. I like that they're just discussing this as like a religious thing. I don't know what the deal is. They can't find the religious justification for it, but they're just making up some shit.
Right. They're just trying to connect it any way they can to anal sex,
And
which
to
even
them,
them I've got thoughts on. But yeah.
Sex is entirely about power.
Yeah, that's true. It's not really, I mean, there's so much
That's
really
actually a feminist argument.
that sex is about power.
I mean, it's like one of the waves of feminism that you can't separate patriarchy from sex. And so that's why some feminists decided to not have sex with men at all. It's because they said that all sex was rape.
Right. That movement you were looking at. Yeah, that's kind of a very intense argument. I mean, I guess, like, yeah, like the real life plays into the bedroom, including like patriarchy, but I don't think that means it has to be like a depressing thing. But also, I don't know, I feel like ideally you just get to like play around with things. If you're constantly in your head thinking like, I am a man and I must be in power, you're probably not very like loose and chill and going with the flow and reading the vibes, you know?
Yeah, that's probably my guess.
Yeah.
Sounds like you just don't want to be embarrassed.
Right. Instead of just thinking about like the other person's pleasure and your pleasure.
Yeah.
Something classical Islamic law is actually pretty good about. I mean, there are many things regarding sexuality that's not good about in terms of like, you know.
So,
right.
Oh shit. Sorry.
This is why I said less clips from you, mister.
We just gotta go up our system. What were you saying?
I was going to say classical Islamic law, like by classical, I'm thinking about like, you know, like Abbasid period, that sort of thing. Not great with a lot of things. You know, doesn't really think about consent, doesn't really think about the rights of enslaved women. But one thing it was surprisingly good about was women's right to pleasure. Like that was often one of the only grounds for divorce was like, the sex isn't good. Like you're not being pleasured. So I feel like these guys have lost the plot a little bit with that from the classical tradition, thinking about like what your partner wants, you know,
Yeah.
and not just what makes you feel gay for some bizarre reason.
It's like in Game of Thrones, do you remember when she gets on top of Khal Drogo?
Which one's Khal Drogo?
So it's like in the early seasons when, what's her name?
Yeah. And she's kind of exerting her
Daenerys
power.
is like, yeah, she's just becomes his wife.
Yeah,
and
that was
then-
kind of hot.
And then he's only doing doggy style. And then she meets that courtesan lady who's just like, you have to make him feel whatever. I forget what she
It
says.
sounds like you remember this scene real well.
But then, but then she's just like, makes him be in the position of a woman.
Interesting. Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Khal Drogo liked being a woman.
Well, he liked laying down.
And he had long hair like a woman, and he wore eyeliner like a woman.
Sorry, you're starting to sound like the British Muslims. Be careful.
Yeah.
These guys are British, right? I can't tell from their.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Also, laying down is just chill, you know? Everyone deserves to lay down sometimes instead of just sweating it out up there.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, this is a video you sent me. I was looking back at some old videos and cute things you sent me
Aw.
in the past, and this came up.
it until you're blue in the face, but listen to me. You might have been all kinds of a gay boy before, but you're married to me now. Till death do us part, and I intend to keep it that way. Understand?
I don't remember sending you that.
That's you.
What?
That's you.
What? I sent it?
No, that's you.
What's me?
The video. You said that to me.
That you may have been gay before?
Yeah, you said you may have been all kinds of a gay boy. You don't recognize you?
What are you talking about? Okay.
Okay, moving on. All right, next clip.
I don't. Okay.
No, actually, I don't want to play that one. That's not a good one. It's Gavin Newsom. I think we should talk about.
That's a big swerve.
I know. Don't remember what this is.
Netanyahu and Trump. Turkish hacker cyber Islam.
Oh yeah, okay. Did you hear this story?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard it yet. But
So-
it's just for transition's sake, are we moving into political stuff now?
No, this
Okay.
is just still clips. Anyway, so Kristi Noem apparently put out this video that a bunch of airports were supposed to play about why there are delays
I did hear that. Yeah.
that blamed the government shutdown and
Right.
blamed the Democrats for the shutdown. No one played it, but this happened at the Harrisburg airport, which is in Pennsylvania. Someone hacked the PA system and started playing. You can kind of hear it. It's hard to make out, but it says, fuck Netanyahu, fuck Israel. I think it says death to the IDF, but you can kind of hear it.
When did this happen?
It happened like yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally missed that.
Fuck Netanyahu and Trump. Turkish hacker cyber Islam is here. Telegramational cyber Islam. Free Palestine.
That's so funny.
Free Palestine.
I feel like that's
Free
kind of like.
Palestine.
I feel like that's kind of like fun, but I feel like it's not going to accomplish anything. It seems very scary to have just like a disembodied voice saying something, but that's interesting.
Do you think it's fake?
No,
You think it was the Trump administration playing a fake thing?
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't think it really achieves anything significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, of course it doesn't. Yeah. It's not going to free Palestine, but
No, but I
Yeah.
assume it was meant as a protest tactic.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ceasefire?
Yeah, I feel like this is the second time, right, that we've talked about an alleged ceasefire.
I mean, there have been plenty of alleged ceasefires.
Yeah, but when Trump first came into office, there was like one big one that felt like it might stick, but didn't stick for long.
I don't know. I don't think anyone ever expected it to stick, but
I don't think we did either, but we addressed it on the podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that there has been a slight reprieve for some folks. There still have been targeted killings of Palestinians, though. That hasn't stopped entirely. I think the thing that was like hardest to kind of stomach was just, and I'm obviously not the first person to point this out, all the media language around the hostages, the quote unquote hostages. I mean, and I'm not saying quote unquote, they were very much hostages, but versus the language of like Palestinian prisoners.
Mhm.
And it goes back to that old saying, I think, of like, what is it? Like 1 or 2 is a tragedy, 1,000 is a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way that like Palestinians are being talked about as like, just like, and the numbers are so massive as opposed to like, what was it? The 22 hostages or something that was alive. And to be clear, like I feel bad for the hostages. Like I'm sure that their circumstances weren't good, obviously. Like I'm not like looking to diminish. I don't think we gain anything by like speaking ill of their experience. But just, I mean, some of the people who were released on the Palestinian side have been imprisoned like decades, like more than my entire lifespan.
Yeah.
And there were a number of like women and children that were being held without charge. And just so clearly these people were hostages, right? They were like so clearly in terrible, terrible conditions.
Mhm.
And that, yeah, just that they're not being, their stories aren't being treated with the same kind of reverence, that they're not like constantly on loop everywhere in more mainstream media is really hard to watch.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. One is because Israel forbids celebrations, even though we are getting a few videos of Palestinians celebrating the release of their loved ones. There have been a few really touching ones where I don't know if you saw the one of the mother whose son was being released from jail, and
I did, yeah.
he'd apparently been in solitary confinement for a long time, and she brought him like a bar of chocolate so that was really sweet. And
There are also a lot of really upsetting ones of people getting released and not realizing that like their families had died.
yeah,
Which I mean just shows how little information they're getting while being imprisoned.
yeah, there was a really awful video of a man coming out and finding out that his wife and children had been murdered by the IDF,
and his kids were I think like 2, if this is the same one, like 2, 6, and 8, like incredibly young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the IDF or Israel also forbids celebrations. The IDF, after the ceasefire, has continued to kill journalists because, I mean, clearly they just don't want the extent of what it's been doing in Gaza to be known. So that's, I mean, there's a very concerted media blackout. And now that Larry Ellison and Oracle have kind of, or Larry Ellison has taken over, TikTok and stuff, which is a way a lot of people see these clips. It's, these things are not being surfaced as much. So
yeah, I guess I'm talking more, I mean, you're totally right, but I'm talking more about like mainstream media coverage. Like, I think the only place I am seeing these clips is like on social media, just because of like the media ecosystems that I follow.
Oh, I never expected. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I'm not
to me, it was a
saying that
foregone
I
conclusion.
expected. I'm just saying that it's upsetting. Like, it's still upsetting to see like the juxtaposition of like the hostages, and like the prisoners. Yeah, and it's upsetting to not see the same kind of in-depth profiles of people who have been imprisoned by Israel and kept in really deplorable conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one guy, I forget his first name, but I think he's Marwan Barghouti's son, maybe. And he's been in prison for, 25 plus years, serving something ridiculous like 5,000 life sentences or something like that. And I read somewhere the other day that they've pretty much just had him in solitary confinement the entire time.
For like decades? God, that's insane. Those people must need so much help counseling to even think about like, yeah.
But yeah, people have been, so a couple of things to catch up on, actually. I mean, there's been the flotilla, like people have been released from that. And that gives you some insight into how they're treating people, but also, I mean, yeah, the hostage exchange has just, shown us more of what we already know, which is that Israel loves to torture its captives. Yeah.
The whole premise of the ceasefire also, and like, again, this is not to take away, like I'm very happy for Palestinians who are celebrating, and I hope that it lasts in some semblance as much as is possible. I mean, but even the way that the quote unquote ceasefire has been upheld, and like Lebanon has included occasional strikes, so I'm not hopeful that it will be complete on Israel's side. But the kind of second act is supposed to include like Hamas also turning over like the bodies of hostages.
Yep.
And now Israel is kind of like arbitrarily like, well, you were supposed to do it in this round. So they're like so quickly creating a premise. I mean, Gaza is completely under rubble. Just logistically, they won't be able to probably produce those bodies like on demand, even if they wanted to.
And this was known, right? Like, so Trump, I guess the way this began was Trump put out this ultimatum to Hamas that said, if you don't accept this deal that, Trump and all the Arab countries had been working on with Israel, then we're going to let Israel do, quote, what needs to be done, right? And the deal was just like this very loose framework that after it was workshopped by all the negotiators, the one that was put before Hamas was like a totally different document, apparently, that Israel had just unilaterally gone in and edited. And then once, so Hamas had to kind of just like break it down into parts and was put in a weird position of having to accept it without accepting it totally. And yeah, that was part of it, right? So like the hostage exchange and then returning the bodies. And I think in that, there was supposed to be some amount of time allotted in the phase 2 to be able to recover the bodies, because they knew that it was going to take weeks, if not months, to be able to dig them up. What are you thinking?
Oh, no, that's pretty much what I just said. Yeah, no, I agree.
I was giving more detail for the listeners.
Oh, yeah. There's also kind of just a confusing contradiction between like Trump saying that Hamas will have to disarm and essentially like it sounds like no longer operate, and then also because Hamas is kind of like the de facto government, for lack of a better word. I mean, it very much was obviously before October 7th, but now it seems like a much more fractured kind of landscape. But they are presumably the ones that are like responsible for finding these bodies. So it's just like a kind of confusing, like they're still relying on them as like the representatives. And then they're asking them to kind of like
it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of contradictory parts of what's going on. And I think that's exactly, it seems like from the beginning, designed to be able to, for a bad faith actor like Israel to point to any part of it and say, well, Hamas is not abiding by it, and so therefore we're going to continue all of our strikes, which they have done.
Right.
This wasn't like a thing. It didn't seem like it was like a thing that was thought out in good faith. I mean, even while it was being negotiated, Israel tried to kill the negotiators. So like a day or two after it was supposed to go into effect, Israel was already saying that they didn't return the bodies quickly enough.
Right. And there's also, I mean, this first phase of negotiations was kind of paused in order to try and create like traction and movement. But like notably, the second phase wasn't negotiated because like parties couldn't agree on the terms. So yeah, the whole thing is very tenuous and not even being upheld in its tenuous state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just don't even know what more can be said, because it just feels like everyone's saying the same stuff over and over. And yeah, like it's good to see Palestinians celebrating and all that. And it's just like nothing is changing.
Certainly.
And people are like rushing to
be.
give Trump credit for this thing.
Yeah, and even like, I mean, at every level, even like, I think there was supposed to be something like 600 aid trucks let in, and now based on the allegation that the hostages' bodies are not being returned, it's only 300. So they're still controlling the amount of aid that can come in. I mean, right, like all aid is important. Those are people who need to be fed. But, right, nothing is changing at the rate in which would make a substantial difference.
Yeah. There's been some interesting and dispiriting discourse that I just kind of want to talk about without weighing in on how I feel about it. But so
it's about Motaz.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So
we actually have mentioned that in the podcast before.
We have,
Yeah.
I see it with Motaz. I see it with Mus'ab Abu Toha, like Palestinian.
For different reasons,
For different
I think.
reasons, yeah. So like different Palestinians, and this happens, right? Because it's just like going to be a diverse group of people with varying opinions,
monolith.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But people attacking Motaz for essentially, I think the gist of the post, the spirit of the post was that, he left Gaza and he got all this acclaim from, taking the photos and all this stuff. And he has been critical of the resistance.
Specifically of Hamas, yeah.
Of Hamas, which plays into Israel's hands and essentially is just kind of further dehumanizing Palestinians. I think that was the gist of the post that was going around.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. So he actually made 2 short videos responding directly to his allegations. And I thought it was a pretty straightforward manner.
Yeah. What did he say?
Did you watch them?
I just saw his response text post that just said I'd never criticized the...
Got it. Yeah. Well, so essentially he just said like Hamas is the government.
Yeah.
And I have criticisms of the government, but I'm not against armed resistance, which I thought was actually a pretty bold and fair statement. Yeah, I mean, I think this just reflects, and I think I appreciate your tone, and I want to echo, like, I'm not Palestinian, so I don't want to like overstep our way in. And you know, if inshallah one day there is a free Palestine, these debates will be even more live. Like, there isn't going to be just one vision of what a free Palestine should look like. But I guess, like, yeah, maybe that's all I have to say. It makes sense that there's a diversity of perspectives. And there are Palestinians who don't support Hamas. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I do feel bad. I think, like, one thing I do want to say, though, is, I mean, I think it's kind of mean-spirited, and I don't think it's just Palestinians. I think it's other people, too, to accuse someone of being a sellout for escaping a genocide. Like, that's just an impossible choice to make.
Yeah.
And I think that part is a little cruel. Like, I won't weigh in on like the armed resistance part, because I think that's complicated and not my place to say. But yeah, I think it's cruel to be like, oh, you're a sellout. Like, okay, like, absolutely 100%. If I was in like a 20th of that situation, I know myself, I would get the fuck out. Like, that's just like a mean thing to say. And unless you have like, even if you're a Palestinian diaspora, I just don't think you have the right to say that.
It feels something about it feels wrong. And whether or not you agree with him or whatever, like, I think I've seen some posts from like Western leftists, Americans, white people.
Oh no.
Who are just like, oh, he's like a conspirator or collaborator with Zionists and fascists.
Oh damn, I haven't seen that. That's rough as hell.
I'm like, bro, like, are you serious? Like, who are you doing this for?
Yeah.
Because it's just insane to me, because it just kind of implies that if you're a Palestinian, if you're Gazan, then your destiny is to just be murdered, and that's the only way you can die with any dignity or virtue.
100% right. It assumes that you have to be a martyr, which is actually very dehumanizing. Like, there's no agency in that. And
that you get blamed for the systems around you. It's like, this guy, by the way, is like 24,
oh God,
25, 26. He's young. He's not.
Oh God. Poor
he's a young guy. And so
I thought he was like our age.
I don't think so.
That's so sad. I mean, it's sad regardless, but.
And yeah, you're suddenly thrust into like the world spotlight. You get opportunities to speak and obviously advocate for your people during a genocide. Maybe some people who are bad faith actors organize some of those things, or you end up rubbing elbows with people who don't necessarily have your best interest at heart, or trying to sanitize your viewpoint, whatever. But like, take some time to think before you're like, this guy who documented a genocide and is now trying to, you know, advocate for the humanity of his people, to be like, he's a conspirator, or, you know, like a useful idiot or whatever. Like, it's just, I don't know. It lacks grace and humanity.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if there was ever someone to have grace for, it would be someone who's been through horror like this.
Yeah.
And that is just appalling to hear. I have not seen any of that from like Western leftists. That's like, just like, there's no world in which you need to be weighing in on this. Like, and I think this comes back to how like sections of the American left can be like very provincial in their understanding of global politics, and just very much like assume that anyone who, yeah, they just kind of see like American imperialism as such an evil, that anyone who is kind of like even vaguely picked up by people associated with imperial power is like automatically equally evil. And I mean, this guy has also like regularly implored the world for not doing enough. He has spoken against both like Biden and Trump. Like he's not like, yeah, to say that he's a mouthpiece is just so far-fetched. I mean, he's also just lost like a ton of family members and has talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the discourse is pretty bad.
With Mossab Abu Taha, that is interesting too. It seems to be, so it's a little bit different because he's a Palestinian poet who's here in the U.S. Was he already in the U.S. at the time the genocide started? I don't actually know.
I think he came to the U.S. a month before.
Okay. And some of the criticism there seems to be that like his voice he's kind of become the person or the mouthpiece. And I can see that a little bit more. It's not anyone's fault necessarily, but there can be a sort of insidious thing where like one person just becomes representative of a cause. And he does a very good job kind of posting on social media and keeping people updated. So I think a lot of people, in addition to being moved by his poetry, started following him for that. But it's never, this goes back to like, what's her name? Like Adiche's whole thing, the danger of a single story. It's really true. It's never great to have just like one person because again, Palestinians aren't a monolith.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not Palestinian and I'm not deep enough into this to have any opinion on this. But one criticism I've also heard is that maybe he doesn't amplify enough the voices of other Palestinians who are like currently alive. So that's sort of an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and also doesn't credit the journalists, is what I've heard. I don't know if this is true or not, but people have made the critique that he doesn't credit the journalists
from the clips that he's sharing.
Yeah.
Gotcha, interesting.
Anyway, I think all this to say it's that I feel like my role in all of this, aside from doing whatever on the ground organizing we can here and be involved with here, it's like you just kind of don't like, it's not your you're not supposed to take territory. Like it just doesn't feel like the right thing to do because again, like to what end?
Right. And if one day inshallah there is a free Palestine, the whole point is that it will be up to Palestinians to determine what that looks like, not
right.
Americans, right? So yeah, I agree. I think what we can do is we can advocate for like both like as much as we can, like sending direct money, fundraising, supporting Palestinians, and then supporting the right to free speech in support of Palestine. I mean, really trying to like slow down the gears of war, that the country that we live in that's contributing to it. Like that's our place, Like if you want to be like a hot take Western imperialist, like go down to some docks and like stop some warships. Like that's kind of where we should be taking action. It's like the problems that we are fueling here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other part that's happening with the ceasefire agreement is that now we have this neo-colonial structure where they're trying to hand over essentially ownership of Gaza temporarily to Tony Blair,
which is so random,
Trump, or some tag team of the two of them.
I think it's mostly supposed to be Tony Blair, which I'm just like, I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's very old school. Like, why are the British coming back?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the best instantiation of the term neo-colonial. Like, it doesn't get clearer than that. A lot of so I've listened to clips. Actually, so it's Tony Blair, but also the only other Palestinian who has appeared on the national or international stage with Trump and Tony Blair is Mahmoud Abbas, who is widely among Palestinians seen as like the kind of bureaucratic manager of the occupation.
Yeah, 100%. At this point, the kindest thing you could say about him would be a lame duck, but it's definitely worse than that. He's just kind of become a total impediment to Palestinian sovereignty.
Yeah. I wouldn't say he's the greatest impediment, but certainly, yeah, he's been, he's been flexible with Israel and kind of like, yeah, just again managing the occupation But who knows? I don't know. Like, there aren't polls being done of Palestinians in Palestine
That's
about how
true.
they feel about it. And again, like, I just feel like I can't weigh in. I just know that I've read these critiques and I've heard them from from Palestinians, but given the situation, it's like, who's doing any sort of political polling? I don't.
Yeah, isn't it interesting to think about? Like, I mean, I don't know if we'll see this. Hopefully, we will within our lifetime. I don't know. But like, if there were to become a free Palestinian state, like what the role of Palestinian diaspora would be, that's so interesting to think about. Like, if there was right to return, like the differences there might be between like Palestinians in England and Canada and the US and France. And like, yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And Palestinians on the ground. I mean, even the differences between Gazans and people who've been living in the West Bank, you know?
Yeah.
And people who are like in Israel, Palestinians who have Israeli citizenship, that will also be complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So in the clips that I've heard of American politicians talking about the ceasefire agreement, so I've heard, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Condoleezza Rice, like all kind of speaking on this thing, and they all kind of seem to have this view that Gaza or Palestinians need to be rehabilitated. And so they speak to the humanitarian situation and they say, obviously what's happened is horrible and we need to rebuild and but also at the same time, we need to work to make sure that essentially the next generation of Gazans is not taught to hate Israelis. Right.
Even though people have lost their entire bloodlines.
This is something,
and all their possessions and their home.
Right. This is something that I think Condoleezza said and also Hillary Clinton said.
It's interesting that it was so similar across party lines. I mean, not surprising, but still interesting.
Yeah. So they kind of talk to the need for reform and education. Maybe I'll slide some clips in here or whatever. And they kind of talk about the dislike of Israelis as an ideological thing that is just innate in the Palestinian or Arab psyche and not downstream of Israelis every day, like flooding their farms with sewage water or beating their mothers, kidnapping their family, committing a genocide, and just besieging them on all fronts. If someone killed your parents, and not just killed them, but like starved them, you watch them starve to death. And then maybe the other one gets like blown to bits by like some bunker buster bomb while going out to get food for you. Not an uncommon experience. Would you like the person who did that? And then you see them on social media and they're posting pictures like wearing people's lingerie and sexually humiliating your people. Like, would you like someone like that? Are those people worthy of being liked, or are you going to hate them with every fiber of your being?
Just as shocking is the implication that like Israelis don't need their psyche rehabilitated, that that it was normal for them to commit genocide and just so completely dehumanize the people that live so close to them and among them.
Yeah, and Israelis are also taught to hate Palestinians. Like in schools, they have curriculums that teach them to dehumanize Palestinians. Yeah.
And like not every person in a state is responsible for the actions of the state. And I never approach BDS as like individual boycott of individual people that couldn't help being born in Israel. And having said that, the polling coming out of Israel is alarming. Like, it does suggest that most people are in support of the genocide, which is awful and terrifying.
Yeah. That
the vast majority of people, that they're only hesitant, the only thing that kind of made them concerned about the genocide was the status of their own hostages.
Right. And now that's not a concern anymore.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, speaking of rehabilitation, there's a lot that would need to change there.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of like some of when we read Fanon a while ago together. Maybe we should revisit that on the podcast, actually. Just like, yeah, like how much torturing someone else like damages your own soul, essentially. Like how much that corrupts you. Yeah. I mean, it sounds obvious, but I guess it's not if it's not something that is being remarked on by politicians.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
it all goes back to like a simple and disturbing fact of Palestinians not being seen as human. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Zoran Mamdani was asked, did you see on Fox News whether he gives Trump credit for the ceasefire or not?
No, what did he say?
So I think it was his first interview on Fox News, and the woman, I don't know who he was being interviewed by, but yeah, she was really trying to press him and make him look bad. And she said, you know, do you give Trump credit for negotiating the ceasefire? And she also talks about how anytime you talk about what's happening in Gaza, you never mention October 7th and blah, 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 like really setting him up to look bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just says, not yet. We have to see if it holds. Response. Which I think is good. Yeah. Like, I think it's a fair response.
Yeah, totally. If there was actually a lasting ceasefire, then like, sure, fuck it. He can get some credit. But like, the ceasefire hasn't even held yet. So.
But honestly, also like credit for what? Because at this point, and also with the help of the Democrats, the word ceasefire has just been...
That's why I said it hasn't held yet. Yeah.
Not just that it hasn't held. The word ceasefire is like, it means nothing, right? Or saying peace negotiations, or that now we have peace. Like all these words have just been rendered meaningless.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's a good response.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a good, safe political response. I think the one I really would have liked to see is him be like credit for what? For giving Israel, you know, $20 billion to exterminate Palestinians to the point where they're finally done.
He's been pretty consistent. Like he said, like that Netanyahu shouldn't be able to come to New York City. He's kept on making statements, which I appreciate.
Yeah, but I feel like even to a Fox News audience, you could take the populist route with this and say, it took us however many billions of dollars taken from American taxpayers to fund what has been categorically and universally referred to as a genocide. And it does not benefit Americans in the slightest. So what exactly are we giving him credit for? For finally, after, you know, withstanding unpopular opinion for, you know, the first 9-10 months of his second term, he's finally got around to telling Israel, like, maybe it's time to wrap it up, just so he could save his buddy Netanyahu.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what he did sounds like it was short and to the sweet. It made the point that it kind of is a way to like not play their game. But I think you're right that like it's always good to go the populist route in terms of talking about how much money we put into.
Yeah, because there's been a schism even among the right.
That's
like,
true.
On Israel, right? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is out there saying this is a genocide. This is
even
horrible.
Though she's also awful, but yeah. Yeah, no, it's true for sure.
I mean, people are saying like Charlie Kirk was turning around on it. Tucker Carlson's out there, you know, talking about how horrible it is.
Certainly,
Candace Owens.
Certainly, besides Kirk, those other three for sure. Yeah.
There was a memorial for Kirk the other day, I guess, that Trump was at, and he was talking about how like I forget what he's like, oh, they tried to assassinate, blah 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 blah. Even me, but like he kind of implies that because he like dodged the bullet, kind of he's like, I moved my head this way a little bit, whatever.
It's like doing live action comedy.
Well, he's kind of making it seem like Kirk dying was like a skill issue.
Federal law enforcement fired sniper rifles at ICE agents and me, you know, but I made a turn at a good time. I turned to the right. Charlie couldn't believe it, actually. He said, how the hell did you make that turn? I said, I don't know.
That's funny. The Planned Parenthood, as we've mentioned, we live like pretty close, basically on the same block as a Planned Parenthood. And I walk by them every day on my way to the bus. Which is good because if I'm feeling angry, I can kind of just take my anger out on them a little bit. By not the Planned Parenthood, the counter protesters who Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5, 9 to 6.
Yeah, they're out there all day.
They always talk about like leftists getting funded. These people are actually funded by someone to be sitting there all day. Anyway, they have a little poster for Charlie Kirk now. So that's nice.
What does it say?
It says something along the lines of like, we're doing this for Kirk, 40 days recommitment.
Okay.
Again, literally people who are homeless and starving all around them that they do not give a fuck about, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Christians, the Christian right, which is very ascendant across sects, like Protestants, Catholics. I even follow, since we've moved to Pennsylvania, become a little more interested in learning because I didn't know anything before, but like Mennonites and the Amish. And I follow I follow these 2 Mennonite cousins on YouTube, and they just talk about their lives. And it's mostly like normal homemaking stuff. But even they were like, and a prayer for Charlie Kirk. And I was like, what? I was like looking at their little bonnets. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the ceasefire agreement?
No, I think that was a good overview.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it holds, but we've been here before, and I have no faith that Trump or anyone involved actually cares. And that now that Israel has whatever live hostages remain, they don't actually care about getting back the remains of the dead hostages. They're like, fuck it. This is just a great excuse for us to continue bombing them. And that just seems how it's going to go.
Yeah, I hope this doesn't come to pass, but unfortunately a highly likely scenario is just that on some made up pretext, the genocide continues.
Yeah. Okay, I guess speaking of people who have lived through really crazy things and then being criticized, maybe unfairly, I haven't read this yet, but maybe we can take a look at it. But Malala wrote an article about the first time she hit a bong. Did you read it?
No, I haven't. I've seen people's hot takes, but I haven't read.
But this came up when we were visiting your parents, or like we were talking about Malala, because like it feels like a lot of people, she is kind of, buddy with Hillary Clinton, and like a lot of people who we despise, or I despise rather. And I think her political...
I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, yeah.
I think her political instincts are bad. I think she is being used by the people around her to make Muslims look bad and to make Afghanistan.
To make Muslims look bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I strongly disagree with that.
Okay.
Also, she's from Pakistan. She's not from Afghanistan.
Right. Yes. I keep getting confused by the last name. Yeah, I think, just like Muslims look bad in general. I think, I don't know. I guess I'll stop there. But that said, I do feel like a lot of the critiques are tinged with this. I don't know. It's almost like a glee to just dunk on a woman.
Oh, I convinced you before you said there was no gender dynamic.
No, I was saying there is a gender dynamics when talking about the women themselves, but you were saying
that people keep comparing Greta and Malala.
People compare Greta and Malala, and they would never do that to 2 men. And I'm like, the fact that you're comparing someone to someone else doesn't feel gendered to me, because people compare men all the time.
So just to clarify, you do think that like individually the way people talk about Malala has some gender dynamics?
Oh, totally. I said that then. And I think that the same when people talk. And I said, remember when I said that people talk about Greta? I think I
helped convince you of that, but okay.
No. I was clarifying. But anyway, I don't know. Before I read from it,
I guess I have something to say about the she makes Muslim woman thing look bad.
Uh-huh.
I think it's potentially could be like, hey, why is she so buddy with Hillary Clinton? I mean, she helped, like, there was one musical about like the God, what are they called? Suffragettes? Yeah.
Yeah.
About
musical, yeah.
About like women's right to vote and that movement, and she like helped back that with Hillary Clinton. I don't know that they've had that much meaningful interaction, but that was something. So I could see people kind of claiming that, but that she makes Muslim women look bad makes me feel really annoyed. She didn't choose to get shot by the Taliban when she was
she
a
got
kid.
shot in the face.
Yeah, I feel like this is sometimes people can kind of round the bend from like, even my students do sometimes, and I call it out a lot. Like, the opposite of Islamophobia shouldn't be like Islamophilia. Like, everything Muslims do is good and Muslims have no problems, because Muslims are people, right? And they're people who have created some really fucked up societies with really bad gender dynamics in some cases. I'm like, I don't think it's Islamophobic to say that. She has like spent her like whole life like advocating for like women's right to education. And yeah, that was something that was difficult for her to get in the area of Pakistan that she grew up in. Like, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really don't think she makes Muslim women look bad. I think if anything, she's like the only Muslim woman a lot of people know. And that can become like a danger of the one story kind of thing again. Like, I do think it's unfortunate that like a lot of like grade school kids, probably the only like woman's name that they know who wears hijab is Malala. Actually, she has like a running joke. I don't follow her, but I do occasionally like some of her Instagram things. And so she gets suggested to me sometimes. And she has a running joke that like so many people will be like, oh my God, you're still alive. Because I guess they didn't like pay attention in class. And they've like heard of her, but she kind of has become a little bit like MLK-ified, like not a real person.
Yeah.
So I kind of think good on her for telling her little stories about like her college life and her struggles. Like, that's her right. Like, I don't know. This kind of reminds me, it's similar but different. It's different. I don't want to put these people in the same category because they're not. Are you listening?
Yeah.
But people like Ayan Hirsi Ali, who is awful, to be clear. I can't stand her. She's terrible. She is Islamophobe.
Mm-hmm.
But I draw the line at people criticizing her for like, she's Islamophobic because she makes vast generalizations about Muslim women and about Islam. But she still has a right to like criticize her own experiences growing up Muslim. I think that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I was just looking through this to see if there's actually any part worth picking out. The article about her hitting a bong in college.
I heard she was talking about being like anxious and like.
Yeah, she kind of just like relived getting shot in the face and waking up in the hospital and all this stuff. And like,
she had
that
the old
trauma.
PTSD flashback.
Literally kind of nothing else about that. But I feel like from people posting it, you would think that she was saying that, I don't know, like making some sort of political statement, which, yeah, you don't have to like Malala. Again, I think her work with Hillary Clinton, despicable. It's dumb. But like, not everything she does has to be
political. Yeah,
political.
It seems like a lot of
it can
her,
just be bad writing. It can whatever.
It seems like a lot of her story arc is just like her trying to live her life as a person and doing it in a way that like she hopes will inspire other young women.
Yeah,
and like, yeah, maybe that's not your deal. Maybe you find that corny, and that's fair enough. But like, yeah, I don't find it like explicitly offensive. Yeah,
I can't quite articulate it. I guess there is. If I were to steelman the other argument, it's that whether or not she asks for it, I mean, she is putting herself on these platforms at this point, right? Like, she is making the decision to write for The Guardian. She is making the decision to work with Hillary Clinton on this thing and to appear with her in forums. And whether it be that life has just pushed her into this path and it's kind of like a moving train that she can't really stop, or she is just exercising her agency to the fullest, I guess we can't say, and maybe that's irrelevant. But I think it is also true. The tricky thing is that it is also true that people who don't know much about Islam or don't know much about the Taliban or don't know much about X, Y, Z, like, they see Malala and they hear her story, and all they see is that this brilliant woman who's capable of getting into Oxford was shot in the face for wanting to go to school by this barbaric, backwards religious zealots.
I mean, that's true.
That is true, yeah. But the problem...
That's like 100% true.
No, yes, that is true, but to the not to the average person, but to a lot of people, they don't distinguish between these religious zealots and the rest of Islam. Like, that's not something that's really parsed through in the image of Malala.
But I just feel like that's not Malala's problem.
It's
like,
not.
I just don't think like
It's not specific.
she's not contributing to that issue, and it's not her fault that she's kind of getting held up as like a little like symbol. But also, she still wears hijab and still identifies as a Muslim woman. I think if anything, it shows that like she represents a very different form of Islam than the people who shot her.
So I guess, okay, let's take this away from Malala. But if we know that a system can kind of form and take advantage of someone's story and push harmful narratives about a broader group of people, and we want to make critiques of that system without being overly harsh toward the person who is being taken advantage of, perhaps, right? You with me so far?
Yeah.
We agree that you can make critiques of the system. But I guess, can you also critique the person individually, or is that not worth doing?
Again, I just think like a more interesting critique of Malala would be like, why hasn't she been more active in Palestine? She's gotten better, partially, I think, probably, honestly, in response to backlash. Or like, why did she so closely ally herself with Hillary Clinton? I just think that's different. To me, those are more substantive and interesting critiques than like, why has she become the face of like a Muslim woman who was persecuted? Like, again, I just think that like actual nuanced analysis of any group has to include complexity. And I think that it's like equally dehumanizing in a way to be like, oh, we can't handle any criticism of people in our in-group. Like, this is why, I mean, again, like, it's really difficult and delicate, but when I have students who are like, well, ISIS is not Islam, like ISIS, like they're not Muslims. Like in my classroom, anyone who says they're Muslim, we treat as Muslim. Like, because I'm not in a theology.
Andrew Tate.
I'm not, right. I'm not in the business of like sorting out people's eternal damnation or eternal salvation. Like, I'm interested in what people are doing with the label Islam. And people are doing really different things with that label.
Yeah.
And so I just don't think it's very valuable or interesting. Like, of course, I always say, like, extremists make up less than 1% of all Muslims globally. Or, I mean, who even came up with that statistic? I don't know. Like, these things are so kind of like inane to say. And there are different contexts, right? Like, if I'm giving a lecture to, like, an interfaith, I used to do more interfaith work at one point in my life. Like, of course, I would be like, oh, did you know, like, Islam means religion of peace, and like when you say Islam, like yeah, that has its place, but like, is it academically rigorous or interesting? Not really. Like, nothing is inherently peaceful or violent about Islam. It's what people do with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think like no one ever asks Christians, like, I mean, and yeah, and that is frustrating. I get it. It's frustrating that it's not like that people don't go up to Christians and be like, oh my God, like, do you support the KKK? Like, yeah, it's an unfair double standard. I get it. But I don't think you solve it by pretending that you don't have any like shit going on, you know?
I guess to kind of still bring it to like a more conceptual level, if
Was I not conceptual?
No. I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. I think that makes sense. But if Malala, and even like to bring it back to Mata's, two people who have lived through just like unspeakably traumatic things that I wouldn't wish on anyone, and their stories can be kind of MLK-ified, right? So like there are broader systems that whatever radical critique they may have or whatever, they get subsumed into the system and they get taken advantage of, and their story gets warped and used to cause harm. To be able to critique Malala or Mata's, does it require that they themselves have agency, or that they are consciously participating in these systems? Or do you just say it doesn't matter, they don't truly have agency or can't exercise free will? Or like, because I don't know, because I feel like we're kind of going back and forth between, well, can you make critiques of Malala not just for one issue in particular, right? Like not just on Palestine, because you could critique her on Palestine, but just in her broader participation of like helping craft like a Western imperialist narrative.
I kind of just reject the premise. It seems overly nihilistic to be like, oh, people whose stories who are picked up by Western imperialism, then that is what defines their stories. Like there are still people who seek out the more radical parts of MLK who seek out like
Mm-hmm.
the MLK who was very anti-Vietnam War, who seek out the MLK who believed in like redistribution of resources. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, just the fact that like Empire twists someone's story doesn't mean that Empire gets to define that story.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I just really reject the premise that Malala is an agent of Western imperialism. Like, you could take a broad view and talk about like how the Taliban came into power initially in Afghanistan through like a power vacuum, how like the US did help aid the Mujahideen in order to counter like Soviet influence in the region, and then how the Taliban came into Pakistan and how British colonialism split up Pakistan and India. And you can do all of that, and you can say that the people who joined the Taliban have their own agency in history and that they're fucked up people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, colonialism doesn't absolve them of the horror that they are creating. So I think it's almost like you're almost playing into Western imperialism by making it seem all powerful and like it's the only agent in the world, potentially, if you kind of say like, well, and the thing is too, if it's not Malala, it'll be someone else they put on a pedestal. And so I think it's like in our interest to like nuance these people's stories if they have nuance to them, you know what I mean? And if they're not just looking to kind of serve as agents of the state, which I think we both agree, like someone like a Motaz is definitely not, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're onto something. And I know you're also partially just kind of like, for sake of, which I appreciate, like kind of exploring the contours of the argument. There has been interesting literature on like, for example, post 9/11, the kind of number of like voices that were elevated of young women who were like, well, I left Islam, like Ayan Hirsi Ali. And there's this book, I forget what the author's name, I think I still have it, that was going around quite a bit in like the early 2000s that was called like, What's Wrong with Islam? And it is weird. Like, I'll grant you that. It is weird that like 4 or 5 of these books were published within 3 or 4 years and that they got so much attention when the many, many books that were written by Muslim women who weren't looking to leave Islam were not like given the same popular attention. Like, it is weird. So like there are dynamics at play and like whose voices get elevated and who don't. But yeah, I don't think that those people then deserve to like not be heard either.
People critique her for kind of just being a lib, as if she should just like ontologically just be something else other than a lib. And I'm like, yeah, it would be nice if she came out of this experience and was like super radical and was like the working class people of the world need to unite and kill their oppressors. That's whatever. But that's just not who she is. Like, she's just like, she sought out a comfortable, she got out of Pakistan. She sought out a comfortable life.
Sorry, I can't. She had to get out of Pakistan. She was going to be murdered.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's bad.
That wasn't an option. I mean, you wouldn't say to like.
I'm just descriptive. I'm being
but
descriptive.
I do feel like there is something gendered about it. Sorry to be difficult, but like, yeah, people don't say of like Egyptian political prisoners like, well, they just got out of Egypt. Like, they had no other choice.
I would say that. I would say they got out of Egypt. I would say Motaz got out of Gaza. Like, I'm not.
But like, right. But it wasn't a choice for Motaz to get it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess it was. Yeah. But okay. If anyone's listening who's not familiar with her story, like, there's no way she could have safely stayed in Pakistan. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying she should have.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, she just is a lib. And I guess you can critique her for being a lib, but it feels like the critiques just carry a weight or like some implication that she just must be something else.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm sorry, it's just like, she is a lib and you can just disagree with her as much as any other one, I suppose. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I don't really know how to articulate how I feel about it, but I also feel like maybe give this one a break because she got shot in the face.
Yeah, I agree.
And she just like got married. She's excited about her husband.
And her husband are really cute. They've been married for a little bit.
She said that he called her a sex bomb or something.
He's a squash player.
Or she called him a sex bomb. One of them is a sex bomb. But also Pete Hegseth's wife called him a sex bomb recently.
Wow. Should I start calling you a sex bomb?
And we've got sex bombs just going off all over the place.
From really unexpected places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There is also something that's interesting. Maybe, I'm not sure if this is what you're trying to say, but this is what I took out of it. Like the implication that like, how could she not be more radical? And it's like, I don't know, like if she hadn't been elevated to the world stage, like maybe that just wasn't her lot in life. Like, you know, she just like, as a person.
She got lifted out by the wrong people and it sucks. And
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that maybe it's not her innate nature.
Maybe.
Like, yeah, I'm not saying she got lifted out by the wrong people. I'm just saying like,
I am.
Not everyone who goes through something traumatic becomes a radical, you know?
That's true.
It doesn't mean something's like fundamentally wrong. A lot of people are libs, you know? Like,
that's true. Actually, you'd be surprised by not every Palestinian in Gaza is like a militant, resistant Gazan. Like, given the chance, some of them probably would have lib views that you would hate.
right.
That
Because
doesn't
people
make them
have
any
different-
less human.
Right, exactly. People have different ideas for like what would create a society that they'd be comfortable living in. And people also like, I think ideals and tactics are different too. People have different ideals, different ideas of what they're willing to sacrifice, you know, which is fair enough. Like people have a lot of base ways that they want to have their kids have good lives, and that can come before like a notion of some sort of society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can like critique Huma Abedin or Hillary Clinton.
You should totally critique Huma Abedin.
You know,
yeah.
like I'm saying, it's just like if you're looking for a
Right,
woman
right.
lib to just be like, fuck this lady.
That's an excellent point. This is a Muslim woman, Huma Abedin. I think she's also Pakistani American, if I'm not mistaken. She's Desi for sure. I'm not sure if she's Pakistani or Indian.
Is she Daisy?
Huma? Yeah.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. Check.
I
Pretty
thought
sure
she was
Huma's-
Arab.
I think she's Desi. But anyway, yeah, she sucks. She's like very, very lib. And this is a woman who's actually in politics. She's like Hillary Clinton's top aide. She was married to Anthony Weiner.
Chief of staff.
Chief of staff. Yeah. Married to Anthony Weiner. Weird lady. Feel free to critique her. You know, that I agree. I feel like that makes more sense. Like you would think that Malala was Huma the way she's critiqued, you know?
Yeah.
Is she Desi? I remember I loved her wedding dress. Oh my God. I had it
She
pinned
is
for forever.
Pakistani and Indian descent, but I think
Nice.
lived in Jeddah when she was young.
Well, she's still Desi then.
Interesting mix of all of them.
No, she's just Desi. She just lived in an Arab area for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, I think maybe, yeah, just give the one who got shot in the face a little grace, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's young. She's got time to grow up. Like, I feel like David Hogg, who also, like, leftists back in 20...
Even like last year.
They were just
going
like,
for
fuck
him.
this guy. Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. He's really having, like, a turn around politically because of his involvement with the DNC is kind of radicalizing him because
Right. It's not
they
working.
just refuse to change. Yeah, and he's like, fuck this. Like, these people fucking suck. I mean,
I like that kid.
he's still
sweet.
not like all the way there.
I
think
really like that kid.
he's still very much like,
I hope he runs for something and I could vote for him one day.
he's still like electoralism is the thing. But I don't know. Like, I listened to his interview on the Adam Friedland show, and,
I'd love to listen to that actually.
and he seems very exasperated and like he's just on the cusp of radicalization. And I think it would be a mistake to take someone like that and just ostracize them for when they were 19 years old having some beliefs that you didn't agree with and that didn't feel fully developed.
Adam Friedland show really branching out, huh?
Yeah. He had Mia Khalifa,
I saw
David
that.
Hogg.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm guessing most of our listeners do, but if you're not based in the U.S., maybe David Hogg was a victim of a school shooting when he was young. Was it the Parkland shooting?
Yeah.
So many, it's hard to keep track.
He was not shot, but he was at the school.
No,
and
he was a survivor, but had a lot of classmates who were killed, and he has been throughout his whole life since that incident a huge advocate for trying to stop gun violence in the U.S. Is now involved in politics.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess overall, I think there's just this tendency to, you can disagree with someone without making it seem like you just absolutely hate their guts and want them to die. And there's some people who are deserving of that. Like, there are some people who I'm like, fuck this person. I don't think they should draw breath. But again, like, I can also be like, you know, like, I think Malala's takes are really bad, but I can understand why they exist, and I'm not gonna spend my energies just like fixating on her being a demon, because I don't believe she's a demon.
So this sounds like a fair
You know?
take. Yeah. I gosh, it's so much pressure. I mean, I don't really feel bad for any of these people ultimately, but I do a little bit, I guess. Like, I think it's probably hard to like have a public persona be so like constantly scrutinized.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've exhausted that one. I've got another article. Speaking of not liking people, I don't know if you saw this, but it's in Haaretz, titled, "I escaped to a Greek nudist paradise only to discover that Israelis are hated there too."
I did. I saw the title, but I couldn't click on it.
Yeah, so I've wanted to. I've had this one on the to discuss list for a while, but it's behind the paywall, and I finally found it somewhere else.
Nice.
That is not on the paywall. And
Oh, we should try that link again that I sent to you. Let me read this. I forgot about that. But yeah, continue. Oh, I'm excited because I also wanted to read this.
Yeah. The subtitle is, "I thought I could forget the horrors of Israel and Gaza when traveling to a remote and enchanted Greek island where nearly everyone walks around naked, encountering graffiti like a vacation from quote, a vacation from genocide. Not here," end quote. "I realized I was wrong." So, just to kind of tee up this piece, this is by someone named Danny Bar-On. Came out on my birthday, actually, September 18th, 2025, again in Haaretz. And he just talks about going to this remote Greek island with his family that is a nudist, like, paradise. And he's constantly just reminded and made to feel bad for the fact that he's on vacation during a genocide that his country is taking on.
Does he acknowledge that it's a genocide? That's surprising.
He mentions the word genocide.
Oh,
He says,
small point, honestly.
he says that it's bad what's happening in Gaza, but at the same time, the things that we'll get into it, the things that he's just like, oh, this is horrible and I shouldn't have to deal with this, are like really truly innocuous things. And I think there's something incredibly sinister about this piece that makes, again, him out to be the victim of the genocide and not Palestinians.
Right.
While he's on a fucking month-long vacation or 2-month-long vacation with his family in a paradisal island in Greece. So I'll start reading and we'll skip around a little bit, but it was just another hot summer day on a remote Greek island of Samothrace in the northern Aegean. We hiked my 2 small children and myself along a breathtaking stream that flowed coolly and abundantly even at the height of summer. 2 hikers, a young couple, man and woman, got stuck behind us on the narrow trail, which is supposed to be an hour's hike. For us, it took almost an entire day. I asked the children to let them pass, and they did. At a bend some distance away, just a second before he disappeared from sight, the man turned around toward us, and his expression said, "This is all I can do against you, murderer." Again, this isn't something the guy actually said. He just
Oh, that's how he's reading his expression.
Is how he's reading his expression.
Okay.
He waved his fist at the blue sky and yelled, "Free Palestine!" Out of pure shock, I mumbled a lame response. Okay. They were gone by then anyway. So the first assault is the man turned around, put his fist in the air and said, "Free Palestine." And that set the tone for this horrible, nightmarish stay in paradise. Couple questions off the bat is it appropriate to take your children to a nudist beach?
Yeah.
That seems weird.
I don't think so.
Seems really weird.
If there's
Because there are going to be strangers staring at your nude children.
But children are often nude on beaches. It's usually just adults that aren't.
I don't know. It's weird. It feels weird.
I think it depends on the beach, but if it's one that has families, I don't think it's weird.
Okay. Well, this sounds like an issue we'll revisit later. Secondly was he wearing an Israeli flag or something? Like, why did the person know or feel like it was appropriate to turn toward him and say free Palestine? You can't just...
Maybe they were speaking in Hebrew.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes me a second to clock whether someone's speaking Hebrew or French.
Interesting.
They kind of sound similar, right?
I don't know. I honestly haven't heard that much Hebrew.
Yeah. Okay. They run into them again a few minutes later, sprawled out on a hot boulder next to a frothy waterfall, clear and cool. Pool at its bottom, naked as the day they were born. Their age, their expressions, their heads shaven at the temples, his unruly mane, the earring in his nose. So he's trying to make it seem like, you know, is this like a young hipster person with a pierced nose? Oh, her head shaven. Sorry, not his. So it's like, yeah, she's got like a buzz cut and he's got his ear pierced or nose pierced. Everything screamed woke. Squinting and looking as if they were snarling, they surveyed their surroundings and conspicuously ignored us. I didn't even try to exchange another word with them. What could I have asked? That I protest every week against the government and its policies? That they should try to draw a map of the river, sea, and the boundaries of the 1947 UN partition plan? Why, I thought, were they protesting here against me and not in front of the Israeli embassy in Athens? Maybe it's me who shouldn't be here, but in Israel, demonstrating. 2 weeks later, while we were still on the island, Israel's B'Tselem human rights organization and Physicians for Human Rights defined the Israel Defense Forces operation in the Gaza Strip as genocide. What are we doing here? I asked my wife. There is a genocide in Gaza, and we're here looking for the perfect taverna. So not until this Israeli human rights organization finally came out and was like, yeah, also we can't even ignore that it's a genocide. Did he stop to think like, I guess it is a genocide now, despite everyone else in the world saying it is?
Well, I think he's saying like even this organization said it was, not necessarily that he didn't think it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. My overall thought about this is like it is very cringe, mostly because like your problems are like not even in the same universe as problems happening to Palestinians. It's just like very cringe to hear someone talk about being on a vacation and being ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, this guy does sound like 90% better like than most Israelis. Like at least he knows what's happening at home is horrific. Not like that he needs brownie points for that, but it is interesting. I think I saw this make the rounds so much. I kind of assumed that he was a guy who was anti-Palestinian, which doesn't really seem like the case necessarily.
I think that's the sinister thing about this piece is that he's going to come off as sympathetic and he's like, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy. But you'll see kind of more throughout the rest of this piece is that he frames, again, like the same way that Condoleezza Rice, like I mentioned earlier, they frame this hatred of Israel as ideological for no reason, as an outgrowth of anti-Semitism and not we're disgusted with your country. And we're also doing BDS, by the way.
It's also just like but right, but BDS is not against individual people. It's about, it's against institutions.
But you could argue that BDS can also encompass like, if you're an Israeli traveling for vacation and like you should be made to feel uncomfortable.
I agree because like most Israelis traveling for vacation, it seems are very pro-Israel just based on like clips we've seen and reports. But I mean, BDS, the whole point of BDS is to be a targeted boycott, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but my personal understanding is not that BDS is against like...
It's not against individuals, but also...
Like I think that in a way kind of takes away from the effectiveness of the targeted boycott.
I think the way that the tourism industry is structured is that if you can get enough tourism destinations to be off limits to people traveling with an Israeli passport, I think that actually could be a more widespread thing. And it's not necessarily just targeting the individual for being... It's not like...
It's not because they were born in Israel. The idea is that it would then put pressure for them to put pressure on their government.
Right. Yeah.
That's a fair strategy. But I guess that sounds separate than BDS though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
But yeah. If you have issues with someone who is from Israel, it could just be because of things they're saying and not because they're Israeli. And I think that if you then make it that you blanketly are going to be against every Israeli that you meet, that kind of gives Zionists ammunition to be like, well, you just hate the people and the issue is actually the policy.
Yeah, but that's outside of a tourism context, right? Like if you're running a tourism business and you're just like, yeah, in my business, I'm not going to cater to this people.
Because I'm boycotting their government in that sense.
I think that's fair. And yeah, I don't think that's anti-Semitic in any way. I don't think that is like problematic in any way, but
I don't know if it's as effective as BDS, but yeah, okay.
It would have to grow to a much larger scale for it to be effective. And I think that would be hard because it's not like there's some sort of like board of international tourist organizations or something like that. Because of a combination of historical and topographical factors and the lack of supervision and enforcement, the small and charming Samothrace, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, with an area of only 178 square kilometers, about 69 square miles, smaller than Mount Carmel Ridge near Haifa, has become a pilgrimage site for hippies from all over the world. You see them on beaches, hiking trails, and chilly pools and hot springs, despising Western capitalism with an iPhone in their hand. It's like such a tired hack fucking thing. That's why I wanted to read this paragraph.
And clearly what you're doing too. Yeah.
Yeah. He calls himself a leftist and says that he, protests against the government. But he's here making it out to be like everyone who feels some type of way toward Israel is just a hippie with the nose piercing and like is
brainwashed.
Woke.
The woke language is so
and
stupid
all these
too.
like stupid kids who still have iPhones even though they will critique Western capitalism. It's like being like, oh, you hate slavery? Then why are you using the master's tools? Like, what are you... It's like such a hack bit. It's so annoying. And so condescending. One after the other, they would gather walk along the shoulders of the road that encircles the island, trying to catch a ride in the old style of hitchhiking, arms stretched out, thumbs up. When I stopped to pick them up and we began to talk, when I said I was Israeli, silence prevailed. So again, no one's like been hostile toward him.
Yeah, the most hostile thing he's mentioned so far is that one guy. Yeah. I feel like also if I was Israeli in this moment, I would go out of my way to immediately be like, I would just assume that people think the worst because my government is perpetuating a genocide. Like I would immediately be like, and I'm so against the genocide and it's horrific. Like I feel like that's kind of like the burden is on you for obvious reasons. I feel that way when I travel and I'm like, people bring up Trump. I'm like, it's so embarrassing. It's awful. Like I immediately say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then he, talks about the nudity and how it's just like he can't focus on relaxing in paradise and being naked with, it's like too vulnerable. And like, again, he's the same one. He's the one who's, in this,
this is
a
affecting
victim in all of this. Okay. Yeah. He says here, it was impossible to free yourself of it. Israeliness is an iron ball chained to your leg that no hacksaw can cut off. That was true whether we were encountering foreigners or other Israelis who always seemed to have a sad look in their eyes. It's just like, oh, even if I shed all my clothes, I can't rid myself of this like horrible black mark, Scrolling down a little bit more. He says, you might get the impression that all this ruined everything for me, but you would be mistaken. That's good. The landscapes, both natural and human, were too powerful to ignore. Everything on this island got under your skin and maybe crawled on top of it, as happened to me one pleasant afternoon when I was on my own and took advantage of the situation to take a dip in a stream in the nude. I floated on my back, enjoyed the rustling sounds of nature, when suddenly I felt something wet and muscular move on my body, and not something small. In a fraction of a second, I realized it was a black water snake. The realization of my nightmares as a kid. I always had nightmares about snakes. I screamed incredibly loudly and then ran out of the water. You wanted to get in touch with nature without any barrier, I told myself. Here you go. On the other hand, at least the snake was not repulsed by the fact that I'm Israeli.
Oh my
Thank
God.
God. So
Such a victim mentality. It's so stupid.
And also, like, it doesn't take the time to just maybe think about the metaphor here. It's like the only other creature that I can have solidarity with is a snake.
Well, yeah, I mean, even beyond the metaphor,
Right.
just like the self-victim thing is so stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in his attempt to
exaggerated.
self-victimize himself, he also like presents this metaphor of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the animal that I am most spiritually aligned with, I suppose. You can't see this, but in the article, it's got pictures in it from the trip, and they have captions and some pictures of like, hopefully not strangers that he was taking pictures of naked, but also graffiti that he talks about and kind of pontificates over. And reminds him that he can't get rid of his Israeliness and how anti-Israel everyone is. But it's just literally the Palestinian flag that says Palestine will be free. Something that says no IDF soldiers, no colonialists, no genocidal maniacs.
Sounds reasonable.
This one right here says we hunt Zionists.
That's a little more intense, yeah.
But
you don't have to identify
Actually,
as
I'm
a
just seeing this now. That's the most intense one. And then it says no genocide.
I was just going to say also, if you don't identify as a Zionist, then, yeah.
Yeah. And if you are, maybe find the strength to just like not talk about it. Right. While everyone's like naked. Again, like something that I feel like is left out of this is that he is probably talking about it quite often to get a reaction out of people, knowing that this is like a mostly pro-Palestine crowd.
Well, kind of going back to like the self-victimization thing, which like one is so ironic because it's kind of what they're accusing people who are woke of doing, right? It's kind of like, poor me, like everyone hates me. Like, yeah, if you were constantly thinking that, then that's probably kind of all you notice.
Yeah, it's like the people who would run into the middle of the student encampments and be like, I'm being attacked.
Yeah,
Help
exactly.
me."
Very
And
similar energy.
No one was doing anything to
Yeah.
them. Everyone was trying to ignore them. Let's see. He talks about this graffiti that just says death to the IDF, Zionism equals fascism. And apparently he leaves whatever area he was in and goes to the Israeli area, which I also thought was interesting. It's like, has Israel also just colonized this island in Greece? And
Yeah. Or maybe they're just feeling so sorry for themselves. They wanted to.
perhaps. But he says it's the most crowded part of the campsite.
Oh, interesting.
Yasmin's giving me the speed it up thing, which I never do to her whenever she's presenting an article. But
Wow.
we'll speed it up.
Aw.
I think it's very rude. So he just talks again, like, oh, this is a good part. The Israelis who gathered in the Israeli area, of course, there was such a place, and of course, it was the most crowded in the campsite.
Why, of course, I wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah.
No reason to put the of course there. Discovered these slogans one morning along with Gaza is the new Auschwitz and a vacation from genocide - not here. Doral Mincer, an Israeli filmmaker we met, called the incident Kristallnacht
Oh my God.
with a bitter smile. So the fact that they just saw some pretty accurately descriptive graffiti in an area they didn't own. Again, Kristallnacht was when there was a pogrom and they went into Jewish neighborhoods and broke the glass in Jewish-owned buildings and businesses.
Kill people and yeah.
And killed people and kidnapped them. You don't own this place. So, and my guess is that this stuff was here before you. Like it's not like Kristallnacht at all, actually.
And again, if you were an actual leftist, I don't know why you'd be offended by that graffiti.
That's the thing. That's why I think this is so sinister.
I think you're right.
Is that
Now-
he's saying I'm a leftist.
Right.
I actually have sympathy, and I'm like representative of most Israelis who are like.
Does he say he's representative of most Israelis? I doubt that.
He doesn't say that, but I think that's
I doubt
just the
I'm
subtext
sure he
here.
knows that's not true.
Yeah.
But still, you're right. It is kind of silly that he's like, oh, I protest the government, but that he's offended by people explaining what's happening is a genocide.
Yeah. So they do say this. This year, when the Greek woman who sells chocolate, he talks about this woman earlier, accused Mincer, the guy who said it was Kristallnacht, and his erstwhile compatriots of being Mossad agents, he felt the situation no longer allowed dialogue. At the same time, he didn't want to pick up his tent and leave the way other Israeli families did. So he's kind of making it seem like they're being displaced. And like, it's just like so...
From their expensive ass vacation.
Oh my God. The solution he and his wife found was to compose a written statement in English, 3 copies of which they posted in the area, asserting, "We do not support the genocide. We are deeply ashamed of our evil and Zionistic government. We didn't vote for them." Signed, all the Israelis at the camping.
I mean, that's what you should have started with. That's a good solution.
Yeah. We chose language the Greeks would understand. He said, "It's not my job to decide if it's a genocide or not." So this is the same guy who wrote that note. Clearly, he just wrote it without genuinely meaning it. He's just like, I don't know if it's a genocide or not. Who cares? The message was, we are not the enemy. They are protesting against us. And again, they're not protesting against you specifically. This graffiti is probably just here, and you're saying it's about you and not your government. And so they're trying to conflate pro-Palestine, anti-Israelism with like anti-Semitism and just like a preternatural hatred toward Israelis.
Yeah, and I think you're really right. It's interesting that they're doing that without even using the term anti-Semitism, but it definitely seems implied.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can find a closing here. Yeah, go ahead.
It's embarrassing, honestly, that he even thought to write this.
Yeah. About 12 days after arriving in Vatos, Eva realized that being Israeli was also making it hard for her to leave the beach. The regular boatman who came every day to bring people back and forth had disappeared, and no one else would give her a ride. Even when she offered to pay 200 euros, 20 times the regular rate, she and an Israeli friend who joined her in the meantime were stuck in Vatos. So this situation it's not even clear that people... He just says that the boatmen were gone. So they're gone for everyone. And then other people just didn't want to give her a ride. And they're assuming that it's because she's Israeli.
I think, again, the fact that all the Israelis are sleeping in an encampment essentially together kind of makes it seem like they are banding together in a way that like seems very nationalistic, and perhaps that's why they're being perceived as being pro-Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd to go to like a beach and then just like only end up sleeping next to your co-nationalists.
It sounds like your dumbass just like missed the last boat out for a while.
That's also possible.
And then people didn't want to give you a ride because they didn't want to leave their vacation. And then you're like, oh, it's because I'm Israeli. Like there's no
who knows?
dialogue
Maybe
or
it
evidence
was.
that supports it. But there's nothing in here that supports it. So it's like if you're writing in a national paper, I wouldn't put this in. But then he says they were stuck in Vatos with nothing but lentils to eat. They had to stay around for another 2 days before they could board a boat sent for them by a friendly person from the local fire department. So it sounds like they even sent out like a boat just to get them. And I just want to contrast this, and it's not the same situation at all, but just with the treatment that the people who were kidnapped off the flotilla boats got from Israel. And like they were held in prisons for 5 days and tortured, and I don't know if you've heard any of the people who got off. I think David Adler is one of them. And then obviously like we've heard Greta's accounts of like them making her stare at the Israeli flag for several days and like not feeding them and not letting people get medicine for chronic illnesses and like diabetes and things like that. Just like the torture that they endured. And when I know in David Adler's account, he talks about how someone, was clearly showing signs of like health deterioration because they weren't getting the medicines that they need. And they bring this up to one of the Israeli guards, and he's like, you should have thought about that before you came to Israel. And the thing that they say over and over is like, we didn't come to Israel. We were on a boat to Gaza, and you kidnapped us and brought us to Israel, and now you're torturing us. And so that's the treatment that they just give people who are trying to bring humanitarian aid to an area. And meanwhile, they make it seem like these 2 women who just got stuck on an island and had to just eat lentils for a day or two were subjected to just like the worst anti-Semitic torture ever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the flotilla thing was not like a tourism thing, but for sure, it does seem like, given all the horrors that Israel was inflicted, it just seems so like trite to talk about you feeling socially spurned on your vacation.
Yeah. All right. We'll stop there. Actually, the last thing I wanted to read is that there's another picture with a caption. The picture is, again, just some graffiti that says "Death to the IDF, Zionism equals fascism." And that's like everything in it. The caption says, "Anti-Israel graffiti on the island. On this trip, for the first time in my life, I even felt a bit like I wanted to go back to Israel already, where they hate me because I'm a leftist, not because I'm Israeli." So he's saying that I wish I was with the fascists who hate me for being less fascist than they are. Then I'd rather be around those people than be around people who are pro-Palestine.
Yeah. Again,
that's your Israeli leftist.
I think, again, like, just the idea that they were all sticking together, like, that is probably why people thought you were pro-Israel. Like, that you didn't kind of immediately make overtures to be like, no, I'm like very against the government. I'm very against the genocide. Like, if someone who is Israeli told me that, I would just take them at their word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually never in this piece says that, yeah, I think it's a genocide. I think he just says, he quotes people as being like, genocide or not, what's happening is real. Like, that's another quote down there. So he kind of walks around the
actual.
Yeah, he tiptoes around it and avoids it in a very sneaky way.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I finally got to read it because it was a hell of a headline.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, but mostly it's just like navel gazing and it's just like a lot of really stupid shit about how horrible it is and like how almost like Israeli has become a race, and that people are anti-Israel and trying to make that seem like a racist predisposition. Pure victim mentality. It's really, really gross stuff.
Yeah. That reminds me of like a lot of Israelis are registering for refugee status in the US.
Really?
Which is pretty funny, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. We're glad to be back.
All right. Bye.
Bye.